I'm Adrian Klasa, Development Finance Editor of The Banker magazine, and I'm here in Bali, Indonesia at the World Bank IMF's annual meetings. And I'm here with Lesteja Kganyago, Governor of South Africa's Reserve Bank. Governor, it's very good to be here with you today.
Good to be with you.
The last time we spoke, which was earlier this year, you had just been elected to the IMFC committee. And you had said at the time that you were going to use your chairmanship to advocate for status quo in terms of openness of trade and an open financial system around the world. That's not the direction we're currently heading in globally with the trade war between the US and China. Is that a source of frustration for you?
Firstly, openness of trade is not the status quo. The world is still striving towards a more open trade. Let's get things clear. Trade is good for the global economy, and actually, evidence shows that since the process of opening up trade started, the world has taken more people out of poverty, that incomes of people in countries that have embraced trade have actually risen, and that the benefits that we have seen over the past 2 decades of low global inflation has been the result of trade. So the current trade tensions can be good for the global economy. OECD data shows that last year global trade had grown by 10% and world GDP accelerated. They're now projecting that this year growth in global trade will slow down to 5%, and understandably they had revised their growth forecast lower. The IMF has also revised its growth forecast lower. So the trade tensions are not in the interest of the global economy.
Let's talk a bit about South Africa specifically. We've seen a lot of movement in emerging markets over the past couple months, mostly in a negative direction. We saw some falls in the rand, although some gains in the past couple of weeks. How concerned are you about the inflation outlook?
We had the MPC meeting, our policy setting committee meeting. We had identified the risks with respect to the exchange rate. We expressed concerns about risks with respect to the oil price, and we had indicated that the South African economy is facing an environment where you could have inflation rise in an environment where growth is still weak. We still, in our forecast, expect that inflation will remain within our inflation target range of 3 to 6%. We would have preferred that the inflation outcome is closer to 4.5%, which is the midpoint of our inflation target range, because we believe that is one of the ways in which South Africa could rebuild its buffers, which means that when there is a global adjustment, we have got the room to play within the inflation target range.
South Africa is now fighting its way out of a recession, its first recession since 2009. What role do you see for the Reserve Bank?
The Reserve Bank had been providing fairly accommodative monetary policy. We still believe that the monetary policy stands as it is now, is still accommodative. And I think that, as we said in our previous statement, that the growth problems that South Africa is having at the moment are not cyclical problems. They are structural problems that must be dealt with structural reforms, and the structural reforms are not within the realm of a central bank. They are within the realm of the broader government. And we're pleased that the presidency made an announcement about a recovery package that included a number of short-term structural changes, including the release of spectrum, a reform of the visa regime. We have got beautiful tourism assets, and in spite of stringent visa regulations, tourists continued to come to South Africa. And we were saying, why can't we make it even easier for the tourists to come to South Africa? Because tourism itself is not just an important earner of foreign exchange, it is also a very important employer of low-skilled individuals. There have been a number of other aspects in that stimulus and recovery package that was announced by government. And we have got to just overcome that old South African disease, which is called the execution deficit. And if we implement those, we actually think that we would see the economy starting to pick up again.
Well, Governor, we're going to have to leave it there for now, but thank you so much for speaking to us today.
You are more than welcome.